What's going on, guys? Week 1 of the NFL season was awesome, and we're just about time for week 2. But before we get to that, I'm going to show you guys a brand new intro. It's pretty cool. Let me know what you think. Jackson was 14 of 19. He threw for 209, had 2 touchdowns. Derrick Henry had about 170 yards, 2 touchdowns, and that was only on 18 carries. And Lamar had 70 yards on the ground and another touchdown. James Cook did pretty decent. Didn't really help me out personally. I have him in fantasy football. I may or may not have made a wager, but that's neither here nor there. And, they had just a lot of touchdowns for Buffalo. They had 3 on the ground, another 2 in the air. So Josh Allen had 4 touchdowns, and he ripped the hearts and souls out of Baltimore Ravens fans everywhere. And Zay Flowers did pretty well, 7 catches for 143 yards. And if you missed that one-handed catch by DeAndre Hopkins, boy, that was a treat. The savvy vet coming back again and helping out a team to lose in another game, really, is what it came down to. Keon Coleman had a very well game, actually, and he is looking like the player that Buffalo was hoping he would eventually turn into, which is great news for Buffalo. Khalil Shakir wasn't really great. He did pretty decent. 6 receptions, 64 yards. Then Josh Palmer, who came over from the Chargers, had another 5 catches for 61 yards. James Cook added 5 catches for another 58 yards. And, of course, Dalton Kincaid, one of the 2 tight ends for Buffalo, also had a touchdown. It was a very, very interesting game, because it seemed like I said, that Baltimore was just going to roll all over Buffalo. They were up by 15 at one point, and it seemed like maybe they were just going to call it a game, and they probably should have. But, they're going to have to go back to the drawing board for Baltimore. They're going to I got to figure something out here because, you know, prior to the season starting, probably like many, I actually had Baltimore going to the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl. So I also had them as the number 1 seed, but I had to change that because it looks like Buffalo may end up being the best team in the AFC this year. But, you know, we got to see what happens. There's still 16 more games, and I really feel like Baltimore's defense is going to get it right. It was just week 1. It was just a very unfortunate loss. You know, Lamar, like always, seems like he can get it right against every other team except for when he's playing a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes team. So he's got to figure it out. As a whole unit, they have to figure it out. And so that was Sunday Night Football. When we get to Monday Night Football, oh, that was another one, another nail biter here. So the Chicago Bears played, 30 minutes of great football, grade A football, without either one of their 2 starting cornerbacks against J.J. McCarthy in his very first NFL game. And, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but J.J. McCarthy actually was born and raised in Chicago, and, it was a great thing for his family and his friends to go to Chicago and his first game and come back single-handedly and dismantle the Bears in the second half of that game. 3 touchdowns. He had 143 yards. And he did throw an interception, which was pretty good for Chicago. They ended up taking that one back to the house. Jordan Mason had 68 yards on the ground. Who would have thought of that, right? I thought Aaron Jones was supposed to be the starting running back, but, I guess he's getting a little up there in age, and they felt like they would go with the fresh legs, who almost had 1,000 yards last year in a backup role for Christian McCaffrey when he was with the Niners. J.J. McCarthy also had a touchdown on the ground, so he had 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and just as though I said about Josh Allen, J.J. pretty much broke the souls of all the Chicago Bear fans and thought they were going to come out and go 1-0. But they'll have another shot this week, but, the bad news is now they're playing Detroit, so who knows how that's going to go. Let's get back to some of the stats here. So Justin Jefferson was pretty much absent from the majority of the game, but he did end up with a touchdown on 4 catches for 44 yards. DJ Moore had 3 catches, 68 yards, and it looked like he also had a concussion at one point, but he came back into the game. Rome Odunze had a career day, 6 catches, although he only went for 37 yards. Don't really know how that was helpful, but Caleb Williams did look good. In all seriousness, Caleb Williams actually looked pretty good for the majority of this game. He only had 210 yards. He did have 2 touchdowns. He also had 58 yards on the ground. And I'm a firm believer that Chicago is really going to make a run this year. And like I said, they did not have either one of their 2 starting cornerbacks, so it was kind of rough. But the defense really did play lockdown for that whole first half of the game. And it's gonna be tough. That whole division, like we already discussed, that NFC North, man, that is no joke. And I guess we'll have to see what happens when both of those teams wind up playing Green Bay. Green Bay now has played 2 games. Obviously, they had a Thursday night game the other night. So now we're going to go ahead and get into that. So on Thursday night, I probably, like a lot of people, thought this would be a little bit of a closer game. Thought that, Washington would potentially come out with a win. I know it was in Green Bay. We all know Micah Parsons, obviously, is now at Green Bay. And boy, did he play disruptor. Seemed like he was out there for 100% of the snaps. Jaden Daniels didn't really look great, and we're all finding out now. He did end up getting an MRI on his knee, and as of about an hour ago at least, there was still nothing on that, so we don't really know what that was about. He was able to finish the game. He just didn't really look very mobile. He didn't have that escapability that we would normally see from him. Other news is Austin Eckler, for the second consecutive year, is going to the IR. He tore his Achilles, I believe it was, and it wasn't pretty. It was one of those, he kind of just turned his leg. He went to go upfield. I think he was going to just try and, be an outlet receiver for Daniels, and he just went down. It's never nice, never great to see something like that happen. And, for Austin Eckler, you really hoped that he was going to have a really good season, maybe turn back the clock a little bit. He is 30 years old, I believe. So I don't really know what this means for him going forward. I don't really know about next year. But the good news, if you're a Commanders fan, is they do have this rookie running back in Ja'Cory Cross-Key-Merritt, who didn't do much in this particular game on Thursday night, but in week 1, he looked really good. In fact, I think he only ran the ball twice, and he had 82 yards and a touchdown. So now everybody in that running back room is going to be bumped up because of Eckler going to the IR. Don't know if they're going to look to add another running back. They have Jeremy McNichols. They also have Chris Rodriguez, I believe. So I think that they should still be okay from that aspect. Zach Ertz, also another guy, veteran, looking like he's turning back the clock. He had 6 receptions, 64 yards, and a touchdown. Deebo Samuel looked pretty good. 7 catches, 44 yards, and a touchdown. He also had a 50-yard kick return, I believe, coming out of halftime. So you got to love to see that, and the versatility of Samuel. They'll probably, at times, have him coming out of the backfield, just like he did when he was in San Fran. Terry McLaurin was kind of a letdown here, and maybe missing some of these practices before the season started. Maybe that's starting to catch up a little bit. He certainly, we would hope with that contract extension that he's going to do some big things this year, and hopefully they just need to rebuild some of this chemistry. And within the next couple of weeks, I hope that he really starts gets everything going, rather. He had 9 targets, though, 5 catches, 48 yards. And then when you look on the defense, obviously, Green Bay's defense, people are saying they're the number 1 defense now all of a sudden. Like, whoa, I think we can slow a roll on that one. You look at the Denver Broncos defense, they did have 6 sacks in the first week of the season. And I got to say, though, Green Bay, though, their defense is legit. And I didn't think that their back, their DBs, the back end, I didn't think that they were as good as they are. But, through 2 weeks, man, they look pretty dang good. And with Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker and the rest of that line, Luca Van Ness, they have so much talent on this defense. And honestly, I forgot Xavier McKinney was there. He had came over from the Giants, I believe, 2 seasons ago now. And Edgerrin Cooper, man, he was all over the place. He had 10 tackles, 7 of them were solo. He had a half a sack. He also had 2 QB hits. Then you look at Quay Walker. He had 8 tackles. So they got Rashawn Gary had a sack. The other half a sack, I believe, went to Micah Parsons. And then when you look on the other side, the seemingly never aging Bobby Wagner with 11 tackles. I mean, this man, I don't think there's a single game that he's played where he hasn't gotten double-digit tackles. And let's see what else. Dorrance Armstrong had a sack, a tackle. He had a sack, tackle for loss, rather. He had 6 total tackles, 4 of which were solos, and a QB hit. Von Miller, I believe, also had a sack in this game. Javon Kinlaw, he didn't really have a lot of production. He had a tackle for loss. Von Miller had a half a sack. Jacob Martin was the one that had the other half a sack there. But yeah, it's crazy to see Washington look so normal. They look like an average team in this one. And again, you got to give all the credit to the Green Bay Packers and that defense, because I think even really without Micah Parsons last year, they were like a top 5, top 10 defense at worst. So having Micah Parsons, that's an incredible addition to this team. And so now they won by multiple scores in both of their first 2 weeks, beating Detroit, which does not look like the same Detroit Lions at all, and then handing Washington a loss. So we got some more things to talk about here. We're going to get on to the next segment. So there's obviously always a lot of overreactions, and normally this is a Monday thing, and right now it's actually early Sunday morning, but you know what? I don't care. We're going to talk about overreactions right now on a Sunday morning. So the first one, Aaron Rodgers, could he be the MVP this year? Could he at least be in the MVP discussion, right? I mean, the man did just have 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and he also went 22 of 30, right? He threw for 244 yards. This is definitely an overreaction. Am I right? Come on. I mean, the man's over 40 years old. What's he, 41? And he was playing his old team. So obviously he had that added motivation going back to New York, and he wanted to, show anybody that was a part of the team. Certainly Aaron Glenn, knowing that Aaron Glenn is a defensive-minded coach. Aaron Glenn basically all but said, we don't want you here. So that's why he ended up signing with Pittsburgh. And again, it's only the first week of the season. Pittsburgh looked good, but Aaron Rodgers is not going to be able to. I don't think. I mean, maybe he'll prove me wrong. Who knows? But I doubt that he is going to be able to repeat that success all year long. I don't know if he'll be able to do this type of thing in half of the games he plays this year. You look at. For one, that defense, and though it's a different scheme, a different coordinator, a different head coach, it has a lot of the same players. Aaron, I don't know how much time he spent around there the first year he was in New York when he got hurt, but, he knows the tendencies of a lot of these players. So I feel like it was kind of relatively easy with his football IQ for him to kind of dissect this defense the way that he did in this game. And so for me, this is definitely an overreaction. If anybody is really thinking that or talking that way about Rodgers, he's still a great quarterback. I still firmly believe that he's going to get them to the playoffs, and I could even see Aaron maybe winning one game in the playoffs for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But beyond that, I think that's pretty much as good as it's going to get. So I'm sorry to the AR fans, and I'm sorry to have to break the news to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but that's my personal opinion. They have a really tough schedule this year, and so anyway, so the next one is, this will be Tua and McDaniel's last year in Miami. Well, I don't think this one's actually an overreaction. I think this one is pretty much right aligned with how their season goes. I think... I actually projected the Dolphins to win 10 games this season, and I don't have them making the playoffs, even though I do have them winning 10 games. I have them tied with 2 or 3 other teams that are going to go 10-7, and, week 1 was rough. It was, I don't know how you come back from that. You got to get a W. You don't have to beat down the Patriots the way that you just took a beating to the Colts, but you gotta win this next game, because if you start, 0-3, 0-4, 0-5, God forbid, then yeah, I think something will be done. And one of the moves, not necessarily McDaniels getting fired or Tua losing his job, but I could possibly see Tyreek Hill, especially with these allegations coming out again. I could definitely see Tyreek being dealt somewhere else. And I don't know, man. You got to be worried if you're a Dolphins fan right now. But yeah, by the end of the year, if they don't get to double-digit wins, if it looks real ugly, then I don't know if McDaniels will be there next year. And if you asked me which is more likely between Tua getting traded or losing his job or McDaniels losing his job, I would probably say it's more likely McDaniels would lose his job. And then if that were to actually happen, I guess the situation with Tua would probably be in the hands of the next head coach. Tua is a very talented quarterback. The only concerns that we've really ever had about him was all the concussions and that he would be able to stay healthy. But when healthy, yeah, he's a top-tier quarterback in my mind. I mean, he's not Lamar, don't get me wrong. He's not Josh Allen. There's a couple other guys, but he's still a top 10 type talent when healthy. So, yeah, like I said, I don't think that one is an overreaction. It just really depends on how the season plays out for them. Bryce Young should be benched. Well, this is another one. Rough start. Last year, it looked like he was starting to turn things around. And again, it's only week 1. But last year, he was starting to turn things around. He almost beat the Chiefs. He pretty much had the Eagles beat. He almost beat the Broncos. And those 3 teams right there all had top 5 defenses. Denver and Philly, you could debate who was number 1, who was number 2 in total defense last year for the most part. But to start the season off with an 18-35 for 154 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, a 20 quarterback rating and a passer rating of 49. And then he also actually had a fumble. He had 40 yards on the ground. So he really only had a total of 194 yards in that game and turned the ball over 3 times as opposed to 1 touchdown. So I think this one, even though that was an ugly start, and especially with them, they didn't play a top-tier team. They played the Jacksonville Jaguars, who we thought would be much improved, but to only put 10 points up against Jacksonville, I don't know, I don't really know how they're going to turn things around. I mean, you look at their schedule. I had them projected to go 5-12. A lot of analysts out there were saying, maybe they could possibly sneakily make it into the postseason as a wild card. Maybe they could win 9-10 games. I have them winning half of that, guys. I have them winning 5 games this year. And I did project that they would lose to Jacksonville. And now they're playing at Arizona this week. And I don't think it's going to get any better there. Week 3, I actually projected them to get a win at home against Atlanta Falcons. But after seeing how Atlanta played in week 1, they were right there. They actually should have beat Tampa Bay. And kudos to Tampa Bay's defense, Antoine Winfield Jr., because had he have not had the pass defended, that would have went the wrong way for them, and Atlanta would have started out 1-0. So I don't know, when you look at their schedule, where the first win's even going to come from for Carolina, because, like I said, they're playing Arizona, they're playing Atlanta, they're going to New England, then they play Miami, maybe they'll beat Miami, then they play Dallas, New York, Buffalo, Green Bay, just to riddle off a few more here, and I don't know, but I wouldn't put it all in the hands of Bryce Young. Offensive coordinators got to get with Bryce, and they got to sit down, come up with some type of plan. they have a decent amount of talent on this roster. Just the running back room alone, they have 3 or 4 players deep there that are all very talented players. They have 2 or 3 good receivers. Obviously, they got Tet McMillan, the rookie receiver, who's supposed to have a great year. And their offensive line isn't, like, terrible. So, yeah. But, so, I think for right now, you know, let's ask me this again next week. But for right now, I think that one is probably a slight overreaction. Just a slight one. Justin Fields will propel the Jets to the playoffs. Well, you go back and you look at the box score, because I didn't watch that entire game, but I know that Justin Fields did very well in that game. Especially on the ground. This team, the Jets, did really well. So Fields only had 6 incompletions, 16 to 22, 218 yards and a touchdown. He did not turn the ball over. He had a total of 3 touchdowns because he also added in 2 on the ground with 48 rushing yards. And, you know, they very easily could have won that game. In fact, they should have actually won that game. I had them projected to beat the Steelers, if I'm not mistaken. So, right? Yeah, because I had Pittsburgh. Exactly. I had the Jets winning that game. So, that was really close. Now, the thing about the Jets, again, this is, there's so many tough teams in the AFC, guys. I mean, it's going to be hard. I don't want to call this one an overreaction. I really don't. I don't think it's an overreaction. But it's just whether or not it actually happens, I don't know. Because look how good the Chargers looked when they played KC, right? Look at Denver. Offensively, they struggled, but defensively, they were great. They showed exactly what people thought their defense would look like. Now, again, it was the Titans. We'll see again tomorrow, or today, rather. The Colts aren't, I don't think, a great team. I think it's just they had probably the best possible matchup that you could have in Week 1, playing Miami. But, you know, who knows? Maybe Indy could make the playoffs, right? And Houston, we still have them chalked up as winning that division, right? Most people, at least, unless you're a Colts fan. Then you got 3 teams in the West. You think about the AFC North. I just mentioned the Steelers. So you think there could possibly be 3 teams coming out of the North with the Bengals as well. And then you look at the East. So the East, I feel like, is going to be the last division that we would think we'd see this year have more than one team coming out. So we'll see. But now I don't necessarily think that's an overreaction. It's just reality will tell us, you know, at the end of the year what's going to happen here. But Justin Fields, I think that if they made it to the postseason, I think it'd be because of his gameplay, really. Last here on the overreactions, KC's kingdom will come to a crashing halt. Well, this is another one. We kind of got to wait and see. But I'm going to say that this is possibly not an overreaction. See, if they lose today to the Philadelphia Eagles at home, right? I mean, starting 0-2, that's going to be tough. The Chargers, you would like to think the Chargers are probably going to wind up beating the Raiders. That would put the Raiders at 1-1. That would put the Chargers at 2-0. And I feel like Denver's probably going to get the job done in Indianapolis. So you'd already be down 2 games to the Chargers and the Broncos. And not that they can't come back from that. It's just, and then you look at what happened, right, in Week 1. Xavier Worthy got hurt. How long is he out for? I'm not really sure. I don't even know if they publicly came out and said how long he'll be out for. They obviously still aren't going to have until Week 7 their other receiver in Rashee Rice. The running game left a lot to be desired there. The run game did not look good at all. Whether it was Hunt or Pacheco. So, and with that rookie tackle, you don't know how great he's going to be. He looked decent at times, but, they're going to have to do a whole lot. Travis Kelce looked like he definitely lost a step. I mean, yeah, he did have that 37-yard touchdown, right? And I feel like for one, I knew that was going to happen. I feel like most of us probably figured he was going to get a touchdown at some point in that game. But he wasn't doing his normal thing, He really wasn't finding the soft areas in the coverage. He wasn't getting open the way that we're used to seeing him. So, like I said, a lot to be desired, And their defense, at one point, you've seen Drew Tranquill and Chris Jones, they almost got into it. So you don't want to see, your own defensive guys fighting each other. But yeah, I don't think that one is an overreaction. I think that is a possibility. But I do have them going to the playoffs, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So, yeah, that's going to do it for overreactions. So, as you just seen, that is my playoff predictions, and that is the proper order. The AFC, I have the Buffalo Bills. I have Baltimore, but, Buffalo is probably going to wind up being number one in the AFC. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. I don't like it at all. Not one bit. But that would put Baltimore at number 2. Unless they make up some large ground. They got to play KC again. I believe Buffalo is playing KC this year again as well. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I do have Buffalo number 1. I got Baltimore number 2. I got the Denver Broncos number 3. I have the Houston Texans number 4. And I'm hoping that they come up with a huge win on Monday night against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have the Cincinnati Bengals at 5. The Chiefs, I do, like I just said, I have them making the postseason at number 6, and I have the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 7. But again, with the Chiefs, this is a very tough schedule. Like I said, yeah, after they play Philly, regardless of what happens in this game, if they do lose, going down 0-2, they have a great game after that you would want to see as a Chiefs fan, going to New Jersey to play the New York Giants. But then after that, they're playing the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore is going to KC, so that's a good thing for the Chiefs. But, what if this is the year? What if finally Lamar beats Mahomes, right? Really, he should have last year in the first game of the season. But, what was it, Isaiah Likely in the back of the end zone, his toe was just a little bit too big for that shoe, and it was just on the line, just barely touching the back of the end zone. Anyhow, so they could potentially start 1-3, but then they do have the Jacksonville Jaguars. They got to play Detroit. Maybe by the time they see Detroit in week 6 rather, maybe Detroit will look like a much improved team as what we seen in week 1. And then they got to play the Raiders after that, which is going to be a tough divisional game. Last year, if you remember, on Black Friday, the Raiders actually should have won that game. It literally took the very last play of the game, and it was only because, if my memory serves me correctly, the Raiders fumbled the snap, which is how the Chiefs won the game. And then they got Washington after the Raiders. Hopefully Washington will look like the team that they were last year. And then you got Buffalo, Denver. Who knows really how Indy's going to be. Like I said, week 1, I feel like that was about the matchup probably. Right now, you look at the NFL, you look at off of 1 week, and what we knew from a year ago, other than playing Miami, I think the only other team that the Colts could have, blown out like that would probably be the Saints. So, I don't know, that's just my opinion, but, Then you got Dallas, Houston, the Chargers, and then the last 2 games of the season are Denver and the Raiders. So we'll see what happens with the Chiefs, man. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll still win the division. I don't see it. And yes, I did leave the Chargers out of the playoffs. That's correct. And I didn't think when I made this list that they were going to beat the Chiefs in week 1. So we'll see what happens. But I also only had them winning 9 games originally. I bumped it up to 10. So, I mean, there could be potentially 4, 5 teams that end up all with 10 wins this year, and 4 of them competing for a wild card spot. And obviously only 3 make it in. Then you go over to the NFC side, and yeah, that's right. I had Washington number 1. You seen that? I had Washington number 1. And I don't care that they lost to Green Bay, because I still have Washington number 1. And I feel like they're going to prove me right as the season goes on. Green Bay, I think their schedule will catch up with them. Some of these injuries will catch up with them. And the defense may be great. And, yeah, you know, Jordan Love may have 9 straight games now without an interception. But that's going to change. All right? Mark my words. That's going to change. And I don't know if you guys seen that stat about you know, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and Bart Starr, I think was the last one, all won the Super Bowl at 27 years old. And this year, Jordan Love is going to turn 27 years old before the season ends. And I don't really care, okay? Because they're not winning the Super Bowl, okay? I could possibly see them getting to the championship game in the NFC, but then choking. I don't see them going to the Super Bowl. And even if they do, the Baltimore Ravens or my Denver Broncos are going to beat them. I probably shouldn't have said that. But I said it, and you know what? I meant it, okay? So number 3, I have the Rams in the NFC. Number 4, I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Number 5, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, I do have Washington winning the division. I have Philly losing a couple of games down the line. And I got the Arizona Cardinals, which may surprise some people here. But I've been high on the Arizona Cardinals for the past 2 seasons now. And, you know, week 1 wasn't really that big of a challenge. Yes, they only won by a touchdown. But as the season progresses, I think we're going to see the report that we've been hoping for from Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler. I think Kyler, and I've been on record to say this, I've said this a few times now, I think Kyler is going to have his best season statistically of his career thus far. And they should definitely make it back to the postseason. I mean, Kyler is, in my opinion, one of the most wildly underrated quarterbacks in the league today. And his versatility, I feel like, is underappreciated. And, you know, it was crazy to see them. It wasn't his rookie year. I believe it was his second year in the league when the Cardinals got to the playoffs, and they got routed. They got routed by Stafford and the Rams, and it's only a matter of time before they make up for that and make it back into the postseason. I'm not going to say they go far in the postseason, but I got them making it to at least Wild Card Weekend. And number 7 is the Detroit Lions, and that could very easily wind up going to the Minnesota Vikings. You know, like I said, I did this right before the season started, so I don't know, man. We gotta see what happens with the Lions, because it would be terrible to see what they had, and if they can't make it back to the postseason, if they wind up folding again as a franchise after losing both Ben Johnson to the Chicago Bears and Aaron Glenn to the Jets, that would be some wild stuff. But I mean, the Bears I think the Bears could even possibly, you know, at least be in the discussion come the last couple of weeks of the season. Again, that defense played outstanding That was one of the best performances I've seen from the Chicago Bears defense in recent memory. Last year they had a few games where it seemed like they kind of gelled and looked pretty good. But without your starting two corners to play Minnesota the way that they were playing them, yes, I understand it's J.J. McCarthy's actual first year playing in the regular season. But, that defense looked great, man. And if they can get these corners back and they can win this week, and just, stack some wins along the way here, who knows, man? That division, you really don't know. It just looks like right now, it looks like Green Bay is the head honcho in that division. And Minnesota, hey, man, Minnesota, Detroit, Chicago, I don't know. Take your pick. But, so yeah, those are my playoff picks, all right? At least I had the gall to show, all right? And we'll see how I did with that at the end of the year. So, as you just seen, I'm going to give my weekly picks. Last week, my weekly picks didn't go, as planned. I didn't get to say it before the game, but I did have the Chargers over KC. I took Pittsburgh last week, so that was a win for me. I had the Panthers, didn't go so well. I had Detroit. I had the Rams, I had Baltimore over Buffalo, and I had Chicago. So, yeah, I ended up going 3-4, and this week I'm going to do a lot better, okay? So, we won't count it, but I did take Washington over Green Bay, but since I didn't get to say it, we don't have to count it, or we can, whatever. So, if we do, I already lost one. So, some of the teams that made me mad last week, I'm going to double down on. I am taking Chicago at Detroit, and I'm hoping that the starting corners play. And I'm hoping that Ben Johnson just reminds all of Detroit and Dan Campbell what he can do for an offense. Like I said, that offense looked very well, especially in the first half of that game. Caleb was firing on all cylinders. DJ Moore was doing a good job. DeAndre Swift, I'd like to see some more production, both as on passing downs as well as running the ball. But I think he did pretty good in his first game. Rome Odunze had 6 catches. I think it was like 8 targets. They haven't even gotten started yet, really, with Luther Burden III. And both of those tight ends look pretty decent as well. Colston Loveland's going to need some time. They still have Cole Kmet, who's a really great safety or secondary safety valve if he's the number 2 tight end. Whatever. I have Miami in a get-right game against New England. Don't prove me wrong, okay? Come on, Dolphins. Let's get our shit together. I don't even know if I can say that, but let's get our stuff together here, and let's show up big. All right, let's act like we're not a high school team, and let's smack the Patriots in their mass. All right, and grab a win in the division, which would be great for them. Because if they lose this one, almost certainly they're going to not only lose but get blown out to the Buffalo Bills. They got blown out by Indy. Of course they're going to lose on Thursday night. Okay, so I got Washington, they lost. But my wins are going to be Chicago, Miami, I got Philly at KC, and I don't ever take Philly, all right? I'm not a Philly fan. So hopefully the Eagles will, do right by me here and beat the Chiefs for the second consecutive time after dismantling them in the Super Bowl. I got the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday Night Football. I feel like that game actually could go either way. But I do have Minnesota at home. JJ won in his old hometown in Chicago. Now let's see him win in his new hometown. Houston at home against Tampa Bay. That offensive line look like some children, and they were just getting, ran over constantly against the Rams. But I don't like Tampa Bay's defense as much. Tampa Bay's defense, I don't think, is on the same level as the Rams. And I don't know. They're another team. They got to figure some things out here. Maybe Nick Chubb goes off for 120, right? Like the old Nick Chubb of Cleveland. I don't know. I don't know how CJ is going to be able to sit back in that pocket and really get some magic going if his O-line can't even hold up. But I guess they didn't really care about that, which is why they traded Tunzel, to Washington. And a lot of good he did in Washington anyway on Thursday night. I'm just pretty upset right now. I don't know if you can tell. And lastly, I have the Chargers going into Las Vegas and beating the Raiders on Monday Night Football, which is the second game of a doubleheader for Monday night. The first game is the 7 p.m. game, Houston. And 10 o'clock, the Chargers at the Raiders. And just like it showed on my clip there, these are all in Eastern time zone. So, yeah. And, well, I thank you all for viewing this episode of EST. And let's have a great week 2 of the NFL season. And, once again, if we're making any wagers, just remember, do the smart thing and don't bet anything over $3,000. I mean, don't bet anything more than what you can afford to lose. That's what I meant to say. So, all right, guys, I'll see you next time.